Imagine spending your entire life, successfully climbing a ladder. Like you put in decades of sweat, ambition, just relentless hustle.
Right. Doing everything right by society's standards.
Exactly. You do everything right only to finally reach the top, look around, and realize that your ladder was leaning against the absolute wrong wall.
Oh, man. That's a rough realization.
It's terrifying, right? Well, welcome to today's Deep Dive. I'm your host, and today we are exploring a really fascinating set of notes and transcripts from the Breath of Life podcast.
And their central topic today is all about knowing your purpose.
Right, knowing your purpose. And right out of the gate, their material establishes this very specific mission for us. They argue that, listening to a message is one thing, but adding hearing, seeing, and feeling the material, that is a complete game changer.
I love that phrase. It really shifts the content from just like background noise during your morning commute into this active framework, a framework that can actually alter your trajectory.
Yes, exactly. And that active full sensory engagement is so critical here because the core premise of these notes completely challenges this deep-seated modern assumption we all have.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, think about the era we live in. We are constantly told to act as the CEO of our own destiny.
Right. Like we curate our social media, we meticulously design our career paths.
Yeah, we treat human existence as this ultimate blank slate. Like we are supposedly just wandering through life on our own terms, entirely in charge of inventing who we are from scratch.
And this framework we're unpacking today completely shatters that blank slate theory.
It really does. It argues that a staggering number of people actually live and die without ever knowing their actual divine purpose.
Which is just wild to think about. And crucially, according to the podcast, it's not because that purpose didn't exist in the first place.
No, not at all. It's because things like simple stubbornness or the fear of failure or even just this blinding desire to maintain absolute autonomy, those things just got in the way.
So it's actively pushing back against that self-made narrative we all love. The author actually references a specific verse, I think it's 2 Timothy 1.9, to build this theological foundation.
Right.
The idea that your purpose isn't something you earn by out-hustling everyone else, or even by just, being a good person. Within this theology, it is given by grace.
Yes.
But here is the part of the transcript that requires a serious pause, I think, because this framework claims that this specific purpose was assigned to you before the beginning of time.
Which is heavy.
It's super heavy. It introduces this massive paradox. I mean, if a destiny is locked in before the universe was even formed, how can a person simply miss it just because they were being, stubborn?
Right.
It feels like those two concepts, predestination and free will, they should just completely cancel each other out.
It is a massive theological tension. And honestly, what's so compelling about this source material is how it attempts to resolve that exact paradox.
Okay, how so?
Well, it doesn't treat divine purpose as this robotic script that you're just forced to play out regardless of your choices. It's not deterministic in that way.
Okay.
Instead, it presents purpose as this pre-packaged assignment that actually requires active, voluntary participation to unlock.
So the creator designed the path and built the potential into you, but you, as the individual, you retain the ultimate agency to just walk right past it.
Exactly. The tragedy within this specific belief system is that people get so caught up in devising their own autonomous plans that they actively ignore the design imprinted on them.
And they ultimately miss what they were intricately engineered to do.
Yes.
Which logically leads to the next massive question for you, the listener. Because if you have this ancient pre-assigned purpose buried inside you, but you also possess the free will to just completely miss it, how do you actually find it?
Right, because you can't just stumble around in the dark hoping to trip over your destiny.
Yeah, that doesn't seem like a great strategy. And that brings us to the concept of discovery, which the source material breaks down into some surprisingly tangible, practical steps.
They really do. The pastor's notes spend a significant amount of time defining this word discovery. And they don't mean it in the modern sense of inventing something new.
That's like finding yourself on a backpacking trip across Europe.
Right, exactly. They define it meticulously as the action of uncovering, unearthing, locating, and recognizing what is already there.
It is already there.
Yes. It operates on this fundamental assumption that the artifact is already completely finished. It is just buried under layers of life, ego, or distraction.
Wait, okay, so if it's like an archaeological dig, that implies the artifact is already fully intact.
It does.
That actually completely removes the massive burden of creation from the listener. Like, you don't have to stress about inventing a life purpose out of thin air. You just have to brush the dirt off the one that is already sitting inside of you.
That's a great way to look at it. And to do that, the material gives the listener a very specific physical inventory to take.
Right, the practical steps.
Yeah. It instructs you to sit down and literally write out 4 distinct categories. You need to list your personal gifts, your specific skills, your interests, and your life experiences.
Okay, and we really need to unpack the mechanics of why they ask you to do this, because distinguishing between those categories is important.
Definitely.
So a gift in this context is something inherent, right? Like a natural inclination. Whereas a skill is something you've developed through practice and time.
Exactly. And then interests are just where your attention naturally gravitates. And experiences are the sum total of everything you've lived through.
Now, on the surface, listing all these out looks exactly like a standard secular self-help exercise.
Oh, completely. It looks like you're just updating your resume or taking a career aptitude test.
Right. But this framework explicitly transitions this into a spiritual exercise through a very specific mechanism, a daily prayer routine. Okay, let's unpack that mechanism. Because just, reading a list of your own skills out loud to yourself doesn't sound very transformative. How exactly does this framework suggest that prayer acts as a tool for discovery?
Well, within this paradigm, prayer is not just reciting a wish list to the ceiling.
Yeah.
It's an active, cognitive, and spiritual unearthing. So by bringing this specific inventory of traits into a daily prayer routine, the individual is instructed to actively seek the divine intention behind those traits.
Okay.
They're asking for an external, higher lens to view their internal reality. It's shifting the question from, how can I use my knack for public speaking to make more money, to why was this specific skill given to me in the first place?
And what is its role in my divine assignment?
Exactly. It reframes your entire existence.
It's a complete shift in ownership. Honestly, it makes me think of staring at a massive pile of random Lego bricks on your living room floor.
Oh, I like that analogy.
Right. Because when you look at them on their own, it's just chaos. You have a knack for public speaking over here, a bizarre childhood experience over there, maybe a weird obsession with antique clocks, and a degree you never even use.
Right. They seem totally disconnected.
Completely disconnected. But if we follow this theology, those aren't just random, off-the-shelf bricks you collected by accident. The author references Ephesians 2.0, arguing that believers are actually handiwork created for specific pre-planned good works.
Yeah.
Meaning, this author believes those seemingly random Lego pieces were custom manufactured to build a very specific pre-planned structure.
That is such an excellent way to visualize the concept. Within this worldview, God has equipped each person with a highly customized toolkit of gifts and experiences that are absolutely necessary to execute their unique assignment.
Wow.
Every single piece has structural integrity for the final build. Nothing is wasted.
Even that weird translucent green Lego piece that doesn't seem to fit anywhere.
Exactly.
In this framework, it was designed for a specific window you just haven't built yet.
Right.
But, okay, this is where the material takes a very sharp and, frankly, a very heavy turn. Because inventorying your fun skills and quirky interests is one thing, but this framework insists on inventorying your negative experiences as well.
Yes.
And that brings us to the crucible of purpose.
This is arguably the most challenging assertion in the entire set of notes. The framework moves past the positive toolkit and confronts the reality of profound human pain.
Yeah.
It claims that a person's life struggles, their grief, and their deepest losses are actually trying to birth purpose in their life.
Okay, I have to push back on this pretty hard. Because it is so incredibly easy for a podcast or a book to just throw around a cliche like, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Oh, for sure.
But if someone listening right now is actively drowning in grief, or they have just suffered a devastating, life-altering failure, telling them that their tragedy is just birthing their purpose, sounds, frankly, incredibly callous.
It can sound very dismissive, yes.
Right, how does profound trauma actually translate into discovering a life mission without completely minimizing the devastating reality of the pain?
That is a vital pushback. And it is exactly why we have to look really closely at the mechanics described in the text here. Because it does not claim that the trauma itself is the purpose.
Okay.
That is a crucial distinction.
Yeah.
The material actually acknowledges the absolute brutality of these experiences, noting that hurts and losses can plunge a person into utter hopelessness, can cost them precious years of their life.
So the pain is not being romanticized.
Not at all. The mechanics of purpose birthing happen entirely within the healing process.
Oh, wow. So it's not the wound itself that gives you purpose. It's the scar tissue.
Precisely. The text argues that as a person allows comforting and strengthening power to restore the places where they hurt, that process of restoration acts as a pressure cooker.
Okay.
To survive and heal from profound grief, you are forced to tap into internal reserves you never knew existed. The healing process breaks your previous paradigm and pushes you into discovering real, hidden potential.
Potential in areas of your psyche and spirit that you never would have explored if you hadn't been forced to repair them.
Exactly.
So the struggle acts as this brutal catalyst. It forces you to adapt. And in that intense adaptation, you unearth brand new tools for your inventory. It is like a muscle tearing and rebuilding itself denser and stronger than before.
Yes, and the text goes even further, stating that many of the intense internal fights a person experiences are actually because their true purpose is trying to find its way out.
Oh, that's fascinating.
Right. The psychological friction you feel is often the result of that hidden potential trying to break through the surface of your life, which is catalyzed by these exact struggles.
That reframes the struggle completely. It's not just pointless suffering. It's the intense friction of adaptation and uncovering.
Yeah.
But, if friction is a sign of purpose trying to break out, what happens when there is no friction?
What do you mean?
Well, what if someone is wildly successful, highly educated, totally comfortable, but they are applying all of that energy in the absolute wrong direction?
Well, that scenario leads right into a major historical case study used in the text. And that's the story of Saul from Acts chapter 9.
Yes, Saul.
Saul is the ultimate archetype of someone who is incredibly purpose-driven by his own flawed metrics.
Oh, Saul was absolutely crushing it. I mean, according to the text, he was well-educated, highly connected, and operating with maximum efficiency.
Very efficient.
He was breathing out murderous threats against followers of the way, and he had even secured letters of authority from the high priest to go to Damascus and imprison them. Like, he was a man with a plan.
He certainly was.
Now, it would be easy to call him a high-speed bullet train on the wrong track, but that doesn't even feel mechanically accurate here because a train is just a dumb machine following a rail.
All right.
Saul's more like a devastating autoimmune disease.
Oh, wow. That's a strong image.
Right. Think about it. You have this incredibly powerful, highly sophisticated defense system, which is Saul's vast intellect and religious zeal, but it has completely misidentified the target.
I see what you mean.
So it is aggressively attacking its own healthy tissue, fully believing it is doing the right and necessary thing.
That is a much more accurate metaphor for the spiritual mechanics at play here. He was utilizing all of his customized gifts to destroy the very thing he was ultimately designed to build.
Exactly.
And this is where the framework introduces the concept of a heavenly encounter, which it defines specifically as coming into the vicinity of a celestial divine body appearing in the sky.
Okay, so paint the picture for us.
So Saul is nearing Damascus, and suddenly a blinding light from heaven flashes around him. He falls to the ground, totally disoriented, and hears a voice asking why he is persecuting him.
And Saul asks who is speaking, and the voice identifies itself as Jesus. But the source material specifically references the King James Version of the Bible here to highlight a very particular, honestly kind of strange phrase.
Yes.
Jesus tells Saul, "It is hard for thee to kick against the pricks."
It is a jarring phrase to modern ears for sure, and the text is careful to define these pricks within their historical and agricultural context.
Right, because we don't use that term that way anymore.
No, we don't. They were pointed instruments, specifically sharp goads or sticks used by farmers to steer oxen.
Okay.
If a massive ox stubbornly resisted the farmer's direction and kicked backward in defiance, it would kick its leg straight into the sharp projecting point of the goad.
Ouch.
Yeah. The farmer wasn't attacking the ox. The ox was injuring itself through its own resistance to guidance.
So in this scenario, Saul is the ox, and his massive intellect and zeal are just him violently kicking backwards against the goad.
Exactly. If we connect this to the broader psychological and spiritual mechanics, kicking against the pricks perfectly encapsulates the exhausting internal friction of resisting your actual design.
Wow.
Saul thought he was doing the right thing, but this framework suggests there is an inherent, agonizing spiritual resistance when you fight your divine assignment.
Right, like you can have all the worldly success, all the letters of authority, the forward momentum, but if you are just devising your own way, you are constantly kicking against the sharp reality of your true purpose.
And the pain is entirely self-inflicted by the resistance.
Which makes Saul's immediate reaction to this realization so utterly fascinating. He doesn't try to justify his action.
Oh.
He doesn't pull out his letters of authority from the high priest and debate his case. The text points out that the exact moment he realizes he is fighting his own design, he completely drops the CEO of my destiny act.
He stops kicking.
He stops kicking. He immediately asks, "What will thou have me to do?" He completely surrenders his autonomy.
It is a profound pivot. He recognizes instantly that his own thoughts for his life, no matter how logical they seem to him, are entirely superseded by this divine assignment. He yields the right of way.
But here's where the story gets really mechanically interesting to me. Saul surrenders in the dirt. He asks for the grand plan. But he doesn't just get a direct download of his entire life's mission right there on the road.
Right.
The blueprint doesn't just drop out of the sky into his lap.
No, it doesn't. And that delay is a crucial piece of this framework's architecture. Jesus tells Saul to get up and go into the city where he will eventually be told what he must do.
Eventually being the key word.
Yes. But when Saul stands up and opens his eyes, the text notes he is completely blind. For 3 days, this highly educated, fiercely independent, powerful man cannot see, eat, or drink.
He has to be physically led by the hand by the men traveling with him.
Exactly.
So Saul is completely stripped of his autonomy. He is literally fumbling in the dark. This directly attacks that self-made mindset we started with at the top of the episode.
It really does.
If you can't see the path, you are physically forced to rely on someone who can, which introduces the next major pillar of this framework. The absolute necessity of community. It brings us to the Ananias connection.
The pastor's notes are very explicit here, stating that no man is an island unto himself and no man stands alone. The framework defines the word navigate as steering a course through a medium. It argues that you simply cannot navigate the complex medium of life or your divine purpose completely alone.
You need someone else.
Yes. To resolve Saul's blindness, God doesn't just heal him directly. Instead, he gives a separate vision to a disciple in Damascus named Ananias, telling him to go find Saul and restore his sight.
And Ananias has the most logical human reaction possible. Absolute terror.
Oh, completely.
He essentially argues with God, saying, like, I've heard about this guy. He destroys believers. He has the authority to arrest us. Asking Ananias to go find Saul is like asking a gazelle to go wake up a sleeping lion and give it a neck massage.
Yes.
It goes against every survival instinct he has.
It's completely counterintuitive, yet God overrides that fear, declaring to Ananias that Saul is his chosen instrument to carry his name to Gentiles, kings, and the children of Israel.
Wow.
But let's look at the mechanics of why God uses an intermediary here instead of just revealing it directly to Saul.
Okay, why?
By forcing Saul to wait in blindness for Ananias, the framework demonstrates that finding your purpose requires ego death.
Ego death.
Yes, it enforces humility and accountability. Even after a literal, blinding, heavenly encounter, Saul still needed another fragile human being to clarify his divine assignment and restore his vision.
That completely dismantles the idea of the lone wolf spiritual journey.
Totally.
The material emphasizes that believers must be prepared to receive direction from others, pastors, evangelists, prophets, or whoever is placed in their path. You cannot lock yourself in a room, perfectly curate your own reality, and expect to fulfill your purpose.
No, you can't.
And it loops this back directly to you, the listener, by referencing Matthew 7:7, "Seek and ye shall find."
Yes, the text explicitly warns against allowing your spirit to become doubtful or isolated when your purpose seems elusive. Isolation is the ultimate enemy of discovery in this paradigm.
So if you're stuck, you have to reach out.
If you feel like Saul during those 3 days of blindness, you have to actively seek. You have to push for your place and lean heavily on the community around you.
Right.
Just as Ananias was the external key that unlocked Saul's assignment, this framework suggests that someone else might hold the exact key needed to unlock yours.
Okay, let's take a step back and recap the immense ground we've covered in these notes today.
It's been a lot.
It has. We started by dismantling the modern idea of the self-curated life, replacing it with the concept of a pre-assigned purpose that you have to actively discover.
Right.
We unpack the mechanics of taking a physical inventory of your skills and experiences and actively using a daily prayer routine to unearth their structural purpose.
And we discussed how the painful process of healing from profound grief acts as a catalyst to reveal hidden potential, creating scar tissue that makes you stronger.
Yes, the crucible of purpose. We looked at Saul's autoimmune-like misdirection, learning that fighting your design only results in painfully kicking against the pricks.
Which hurts no one but yourself.
Exactly. And finally, we saw how ultimate surrender requires the humility to let Ananias guide you out of the dark.
It is a radical departure from conventional wisdom.
It really is.
And to close out this deep dive, I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over, building on a very specific, easily overlooked detail in this text.
Okay, what is it?
When God is explaining Saul's massive, world-changing purpose to Ananias, he adds one final sobering sentence in verse 16. He says, "I will show him how much he must suffer for my name."
Wow, that changes everything.
It does. In our highly curated modern world, we almost universally assume that finding our true purpose will unlock a life of ultimate comfort, massive wealth, and just frictionless ease.
Yeah, we totally equate purpose with peace.
But if Saul's divine purpose, an assignment supposedly locked in before the universe was formed, guaranteed immense suffering and hardship, how might that reframe the difficult season you are currently trying to escape?
Oh, that's heavy.
What if the intense friction and struggle you are feeling right now isn't a sign that you have wandered onto the wrong path? What if it is the undeniable proof that you are finally walking down the right one?
That is a staggering perspective shift. It completely rewrites how we interpret our own struggles and ambitions.
It really does.
Well, thank you for walking through the mechanics of this framework with me today.
My pleasure.
To everyone listening, keep digging through your personal inventory, keep leaning on your community, and keep discovering what you were built to do. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Hi, my name is Finley. I am proud supporter of Pastor and Lady Brown Let's Connect podcast. Well, if you know Pastor and Lady Brown, they are always thinking of ways to motivate and inspire the body of Christ. Pastor Brown has decided to start a new podcast named Breath of Life Podcast. By the leading of the Holy Spirit and a love for sharing God's word, Pastor Bear Brown is restoring some previous lessons and make them available, going back about 5 years. These are some amazing lessons that we hope will motivate and inspire you to stay strong and focused. Thank you for your support. Please like, and if you like, you can like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We are so excited. Much love from Pastor and Lady Bear Brown.